Well, former President Jacob Zuma will be briefing the media this evening at around 6 o'clock. The former president filed papers to challenge his 15-month sentence. The Constitutional Court has agreed to hear the application on the 12th of July. Meanwhile, more supporters are making their way to Nkandla to show their support for the former president. Our senior reporters, Siphamandla, Goge, and Dasen, Thathiah are in Nkandla, and they are following the story for us. They have been all weekend. Let's find out from them what is happening there at the moment. Siphamandla, if you can hear me, just give us some idea of what is happening. We see people continuing to make their way to Nkandla, but what's been happening? We understand that there is a bit of a standoff at the moment with police.
Well, where I am outside former President Jacob Zuma's home, there is no standoff between supporters and the police because there are no police here. I've only spotted 2 of them, so you can't really say there's enough and adequate deployment of police. In fact, I only spotted 1 police officer trying to negotiate with people purporting to be members of the eNCA. But an interesting development, which is very dangerous, by the way, that has just happened here about 10-15 minutes ago. I heard 3 gunshots coming outside former President Jacob Zuma's home here at Nkandla. Some people were discharging firearms here, and as that was happening, there were about 2 police officers who were around here, but they were focusing on trying to deal with the issue of crowd management, crowd control, but not necessarily doing anything except to negotiate with those people who are forming guard there, purporting to be members of the eNCA. So where I'm at currently, it's relatively quiet. More and more members of former Zuma making their way towards the stage there. I think it's Edward Zuma, former President Zuma's son, who is addressing there. I'm not sure whether my hard-working colleague Bongam Kize will be able to zoom in and show you Edward Zuma addressing people who are slowly streaming in, trickling in there as they are gathering. This is an illegal political gathering, not allowed under alert level 4 of the lockdown and the regulations. Hence, that criticism for or to the police about their lack of heavy presence here. It's been like this for almost a week now. There is no enforcement of the regulations here. There is actually 1 police officer there which is just busy on the phone there. I think he's trying to call for backup, negotiating for more support. That's the only gentleman, and another one that I spotted him with has since left, but that's the only police officer that I'm seeing here currently. Earlier on there were 2 of them, but 1 is left now. So whether you call that deployment or not to try and prevent people from gathering illegally, I don't know, but I can tell you that basically former President Jacob Zuma's supporters are having a free will here. They are just doing as they please.
Well, it certainly does seem that way, Siphamandla, and of course waiting to hear from him at around 6 o'clock this evening. Let's chat now to Nkandla, and he earlier was just trying to chat to Carl Niehaus. Aviwe, if you can hear me, I know you're on the move, but tell us what happened just a short while ago with Carl Niehaus there. Aviwe, can you hear me?
I need to be inside. I can't report here.
All right, it seems that we have lost that line to Nkandla. We'll try and get back to him because he was there in the thick of it and just listening in to what was happening there with Carl Niehaus. Let's try Dasen Thathiah. We do have him on the phone, so let's just take a listen to where he is. Dasen, where exactly are you in the picture there when it comes to Nkandla and these gatherings, and what's happening there?
Well, Yuveka, we are traveling, so we don't have the greatest line, but we are now in the vicinity of Goge. So this is where the convoy had stopped. They stopped here briefly at one of the petrol stations. And as you would have seen from the visuals that we have been sending through, it's been quite a chaotic trip from Durban, or rather from the Mvoti toll, which is just outside Durban, all the way up here to Goge. And that was because, as you would have seen there, at random spaces on both the freeway as well as the inner roads, most of the group was stopping there. They had put on their music, taken out their flags. In some instances, I think some of it was also captured on video. Some of the supporters had pulled out their firearms and started shooting into the air. But I think the most glaring thing was that although there were police here and there, I mean, not in large numbers, there was a vehicle or 2 that was in the vicinity of where all of this was happening. Very little was being done. I mean, in some instances, it almost looked like there was a police escort because it was being led by police GTI right at the front of the pack. But yet, despite all of this happening, there was no intervention. There was nothing done for it to be stopped, despite traffic coming to a standstill in some instances for 15 minutes and 20 minutes. And I'm talking about a national road here.
And Dasen, if you have been able to gauge, I mean, why is it that police seem to be so ineffective when it comes to the story, when it comes to these gatherings around the former president, especially this weekend?
It's like they're treading very gently, and it's something that I raised on Friday as well during our coverage of the protest that was taking place in Durban. And even there, even when the gathering was first starting, despite that, police seemed to just be looking the other way, driving past. And although I did speak to some police officers who had told me confidentially that they are not really, I'm not sure if I should use the word allowed, but he said that they're not really allowed to engage with these groups if they are on their own and if specific units are not called in to do so. So a lot of the police that I'm talking about were not the specialized units. Yeah. These were police officers in cars, in some cases in bakkies. So they really are treading very carefully when it comes to this, basically keeping these supporters in line, almost gently nudging them along, but not really interfering or stopping what they're doing.
And of course, just checking whether they are complying with the sort of COVID protocols at the moment. And from what we saw yesterday, hardly anyone wearing a mask. Now you say this is a long journey. If this address happens at 6 o'clock, one would imagine we still have a curfew up until 9 o'clock. What's going to happen then? That's going to be another thing for police to try, if they even try, to control or to police.
Exactly, because apart from all of these other offences that I've just mentioned to you, I mean, if you add up the reckless driving, the guns being fired, as well as the fact that there are also these illegal gatherings that are then popping up everywhere on these roads, with all of this together, I mean, it'll be very interesting to see then what actually does happen tonight and whether there will be any level of control. We've been seeing in Nkandla over the past few days how things have been going there. And this, what we've been following today from the Mboti Toll all the way up to Eshowe, has been a continuation of that. It's been lawlessness.
Well, Dasen, you know, we know that the former president has been trying to rally this kind of support, rally political support, especially there in KZN. But just judging by the numbers, has it sort of fallen by the wayside for him, or is he actually getting the support? You have a better idea of the crowds making their way as well, and those who are outside Nkandla at the moment. Is he getting that support, or does it seem to be dwindling a little?
Well, let me use this example, Rebecca, just to answer your question, because it's very difficult to give a holistic view. But from what we've seen today with the convoy, I mean, the convoy is probably, if I had to estimate, maybe about 50-odd vehicles. But what was interesting was that although they were causing these disruptions, like even entering Eshowe, and they'd stopped traffic there and some people had to wait, even then, even those people had jumped out of their cars in the cases that we saw, and had joined in and had offered their support, had hooted, had screamed at these vehicles, and picked up their fists as well. And we saw that as we passed through some of the smaller towns, there were these pockets of people that were joining in. And despite the inconveniences, they were also showing their support for the former president.
All right. Well, let's wait and see what happens there. Thanks very much, Dasen Thathiah. On the road, we'll let you continue with your journey. Let's go back now to Siphamandla, Goge, and let's see what is happening outside in Nkandla there. Sipha, I think we've got a better line to you now as well. So, yeah, I mean, the crowds seem to be gathering there, but I want to ask you the same thing that I just asked Dasen Thathiah, because you were on the ground there, in terms of the support that the former president was hoping to rally for himself, the political support in KZN. Is that still going strong, or are we just seeing people, you know, being gathered up as they go along just to sort of make up a crowd? What is your feeling?
It's getting stronger, and it was to be expected. Former President Jacob Zuma is still a political force to be reckoned with, not only in KwaZulu-Natal, but within the ANC. Yes, his critics will say politically he is down and out, but his support is getting strong here on the ground. Let's take a walk with Bonga Mkhize. We will go to where his supporters are gathering. Hopefully, we will not be prevented from entering where they are gathering. We've been told that we can go through there. So this is the current situation as you see it now on the background happening here. These are some of the members of the public that are here to support the former president. But I want to show you something here. I think there is one police officer who is there. He's the only law enforcement officer that we see here as we continue to make our way inside here. So basically that is what is happening. Yes, so yes, this is the political playground for the former president. This is outside his home. This is where he took a short walkabout yesterday, flanked by Amabuto, making his way, making a political statement, by the way, that he still has support. Yesterday, there were many people here, and there are many people coming all the way from Durban, which is eThekwini, the ANC's biggest region, as my hardworking colleagues, that is Dasen, Thathiah, and Nkandla, are bringing you those developments. So here on the ground, we have an illegal political gathering not allowed under alert level 4 of the lockdown. You judge for yourself what is happening, why this is allowed to continue. But this is the situation here. There is music, people are singing. I'm trying to spot familiar faces, but these are some of the supporters of the former president. Perhaps now that we are here, I will ask Bonga Mkhize that we turn and give you another view here, another wide shot of what is happening behind me. Just take a look at that wide shot there. That's where cars are parking. That's like, you know, the parking bay. We expect more and more people to come here today because they had planned to congregate here today, as they had called it a D-Day. According to the Constitutional Court judgment, this was the day that the deadline for the former president lapses. So this is the situation on the ground. This is what is happening. We expect more and more supporters of the former president to flock to Nkandla.
Well, Sipha, it is absolutely mind-boggling, as you say, to try and fathom why it is that no action is being taken. This is literally breaking the law. And, I mean, hopefully we will get some answers as to why that is a little bit later on. But what are the expectations in terms of what the former president is going to say today that he didn't say yesterday already?
I don't know. You know, to tell you the truth, I don't know. I don't know what to expect with former President Jacob Zuma, except to say for years he has decided to stick to that political script of his. You know, we expect that he will say, I'm a law-abiding citizen, I have rights, I'm still exercising my rights. That's why I've lodged this application to the Port Court to rescind its own judgment. That's why I also want my sentence to be stayed for now, pending the finalization of my application. You know, he will say he appeals for calm. I expect him to say that because people are concerned with what is happening here. Let me tell you that as we speak, he is meeting with some leaders of the eNCA in KwaZulu-Natal. They include a provincial executive committee member who is also a provincial working executive committee member, that is Nomakuku Simelane, who is also the MEC of Health in KwaZulu-Natal. This gathering will concern the Health MEC in KwaZulu-Natal, Nomakuku, even though she's here in her own capacity as a member of the ANC, not as the MEC, but it is a fact that she is the Health MEC in KwaZulu-Natal, and she's coming to Nkandla at a time where there is a concern about new infections, you know, COVID-19 infections. The country is in the midst of a very deadly third wave of COVID-19, and KwaZulu-Natal has always been a concern. The first case of coronavirus in South Africa was reported in KwaZulu-Natal. So yes, the province may not be widely ravaged by COVID-19 third wave for now, but it is under threat like the rest of the country. So the former president has met with the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Sihle Zikalala, in his capacity as the chairperson of the ANC in the province, Provincial Secretary Mtumseni Ntuli, as the National Executive Committee of the ANC, has deployed some members of the ANC to come and try, you know, to persuade the former president, but also to help stabilize things here because the situation is tense and it's getting more and more heated.